Welcome to Full Speed Racing. This week we're at Brands Hatch for the 2013 Mini Festival. Coming up in today's programme, we have highlights from the Pre-66 Anglo-French battle. With big grids and close racing, it's easy to see why people love racing minis. This weekend we have some very familiar faces joining the Pre-66 Mini grid. From rock stars to soap stars, it seems that no one's immune from the mini racing bug. Well, Brian, we are more familiar seeing you rocking the stage as frontman of AC/DC, but this weekend you're out racing. Where did your love of motorsport and racing start?
Well, from when I was a kid, I used to watch Raymond Back stuff from Brands Hatch on a black and white television, and watch these 60s races, the Jim Clarks, the Graham Hills, and to me they were heroes. They were the knights that we didn't have anymore, and white chargers. They were just romantic people that did this wonderful thing, and we all wanted to be part of it, but we couldn't because it cost a lot of money. And these cars should have been retired decades ago. The drivers who drive them should know better, but they don't. And I'm one of them, and that's why I love them, because they refuse to go into that long good night. They just refuse. They're going to say, I'm going to kicking and screaming until I finish this, what I'm doing. And that's why I like them. Well, they're nonsense, aren't they? I mean, they're nonsense. They shouldn't be racing. I mean, when they came out, why they're so iconic is Princess Margaret had one, the Beatles had one, Peter Sellers, all the big movie stars had one, and so did your dad. I mean, they just shouldn't be race cars, but of course, man being man, what do you do? I wonder how fast that'll go around them. I'll give that a shot.
Calvin, when you're not acting, you're here racing. How did you get involved in motorsport?
Well, I've been a fan for years, a spectator, one of the guys that stand on the sides and watch all the guys go past. And then I was at the Motorsport show with my dad one year, and we saw the little minis, and minis were my first ever car. And then I saw a sticker saying that you can race yourself, mighty minis, and get involved and give a bit of a breakdown of the costing. And we thought it was something we could both afford, and that was a year ago. And so I did a full season in mighty minis, and then I've been kindly asked to come along this weekend from the Norman Grimshaw and races Wolseley Hornet. So it's great, it's brilliant. Like I say, as a massive car enthusiast and a big car fan, a petrol head, then to get behind the wheel of a little race car is brilliant, dream come true.
Well, the cars are lined up now, and it's time for the Pre-66 Anglo-French battle. It looks like the rain might start, so it could be an exciting race.
Certainly will be. After the Suns got to run in yesterday's race, it's Dad's turn today, so it's Robert Beebe and Keith Padmore on the front row of the grid from Dan Wheeler and Graham Churchill, then Dave Mountain and Ken Welsh completing row 3. Gigantic grid, marvellous to see all these Pre-66 minis in action. Away we go, and off the line it's not such a good getaway from Robert Beebe as the rest of the pack all streaking through. So as they accelerate towards Paddock Hill Bend for the first time, it's Keith Padmore who leads the way, a brilliant getaway as well from Graham Churchill in the black number 15 car, who swoops around the outside as they climb up Harewood Hill for the first time asking into Druids. But it's Padmore who has got that advantage. The cars all fanning out. Magnificent sight they make, and this is the reason why the Mini remains such an enduring mark and popular form of going motor racing. It's been a fantastic start as well from Philippe Kyrier, the first of the French runners, the Aquamarine number 48 car. He's going wheel to wheel with Graham Churchill, also chasing down the 88 car Daniel Wheeler, who's very much in the mix as the field still running more or less as one. It's down Wheeler, in fact, is going to lead through as they accelerate through Clark Curve at the end of the first lap. You've got somebody in trouble and heading towards the pits, possibly Steve Jones, as sprinting through the line 3-4 wide in the midfield, as James Martin, interested spectator. It's Andy Harrison who's out in this race in the car that he'll be in a little bit later on. That's number 50, running a little bit lower down the order as it's Wheeler who still leads it from Keith Padmore. Then it's Dave Mountain up to third, Philippe Kyrier in fourth, with in fifth place the number 15 car, Graham Churchill. Down into Graham Hill Bend, Churchill setting off to shoot Kyrier, and then we've got the pole sitter Robert Beebe, who has rather lost out in the opening exchanges. At the moment though, Dan Wheeler trying to set about escaping from Keith Padmore. Dave Mountain though, Philippe Kyrier, plenty to say about that, because the beauty of mini racing, be they young or old, is the ability to slipstream, and therefore it's very, very hard to make a gap on your rivals. Accelerating out of Clark Curve and on the Bramham straight. And this section of the circuit pretty much completely unchanged from when these minis were raced here the Brands Hatchin period back in the 1960s. A very interesting spectator over the course of the weekend at the Mini Festival has been Sir John Whitmore, who of course was so successful racing minis back in the 1960s. He was saying that on a good day you could almost do a lap of the Brands Hatchin circuit without lifting. You just flick the car into the corners and let it slow itself down. Well, these drivers maybe being a little bit more cautious, but not by an awful lot, as up into second place then comes Dave Mountain. He moves clear of Keith Padmore. Padmore, though, is going to try and stay on the wheel tracks of Dave Mountain as Mountain sets about closing in on the race leader at the moment, though. Dan Wheeler's got a reasonably healthy advantage. However, I'm sure that as the pack behind work together, that will be closed down in the blink of an eye. The third place driver now, Keith Padmore, turns through clearways, accelerates down to Clark Curve. Then we've got Philip Kiriet coming under pressure from Graham Churchill. Churchill in the dark of the two cars, swarms all over the tail of the Frenchman, one of many French drivers competing this weekend because it's also around to the French Historic Mini Championship. Always a very, very popular stop on the calendar as the rest of the pack all surging through, driving to Paddock Hill Bend. And there is number 38, Brian Johnson, the leader of ACDC. Relatively lowly grid slot for Johnson, but he's really making amends, coming up from 19th on the grid and steadily picking his way up the order. He's got a little bit of work to do to go on terms with the leading group just yet. As a change for fourth, no, not quite. Philip Kiriet cuts off Graham Churchill in mid-stride through Graham Hill Bend. Not an awful lot that Churchill could do there, except for jump on the brakes. Kiriet working very hard to keep Churchill behind. It's back him in to the attentions, though, of Robert Beebe. There's Beebe in the second of the turquoise cars, number 59. As the gap between the leaders has really come down. Dave Mountain right onto the tail down Wheeler. Wheeler has been out front really since the end of the first lap of the race, but you can see the advantage that the pair of them have built up over the rest of the pack. Sweeping through, another lap completed. Paddock Hill Bend, Mountain flicking his mini sideways. This is what it's all about. The four-wheel slides is very effective because Mountain carries far more speed out of Paddock than down Wheeler. Wheeler knows it, covers the inside line up Hailwood Hill, but Mountain's going to keep his foot in around the outside at Druids. Now Wheeler just glides out in front of Mountain. The pair of them sprinting down towards Graham Hill Bend. Wheeler's got the inside line for the left-hander. Mountain, therefore, finding no way through along Cooper Straight. And just moving Carswick so away from the edge of the circuit down Wheeler. He's making this difficult here for Dave Mountain. Mountain trying very, very hard to find a way past. I think he feels he's a little bit quicker, but once Mountain takes the lead of the race, then it's the turn of down Wheeler to sit on Mountain's tail and set about reeling him in. So the pair of them, again, along the Bramham straight, completes the lap there. We see the gap back to the next group of cars. It's Keith Padmore from Graham Churchill. Churchill then has found a way past Philippe Kiriet, who's looking to do the same as well, to Keith Padmore through Paddock Hill Bend. They slide, synchronised sliding further back. Perfect examples of the technique needed to pilot these cars to their full potential, because they run exactly as they did in period, which means they run on skinny and not altogether grippy tyres, which is why the cars are able to slide such as they are. Graham Churchill now, he took pressure onto Keith Padmore. Philip Kiriet doing a very good job in staying with them as well, accelerating along the Cooper Straight. Also the red car, Jonathan Hartop, begins to show strongly. Hartop can always be relied on to be competitive. There's Paul Lynch, it's maybe a bit familiar from his exports in Mighty Minis, the lights over the years, as the fifth place man Kiriet once more lines up to follow in the slipstream behind Keith Padmore, who is being very emphatically chased by Graham Churchill as we go side by side for lead once more. Again, Dave Mountain just content to bide his time. He's working with Daniel Wheeler, and as the pair of them continue to circulate, don't slow themselves down, doing battle with each other. You can see the margin they've been able to open out over the rest of the field as the sun begins to peek through, fortunately. So the rain that Charlie was worried about on the grid hasn't materialised as yet, as William Metcalf pilots his car through Paddock Hill Bend. Battles to be found throughout the field. They're closing on the tail of Andy Harrison. As part of that is Stéphane Soulet, one of the French drivers. He's in the number 69 car, first of the white cars in that queue. They've also got, from that group, Charles Rousseau, again another driver who's made the trip across from the continent this weekend. Graham Churchill past Keith Padmore and pulling clear. The rest of them all closing up on each other in this fight for fourth. Ken Welsh, back of the queue rather, in car 12. Now that Churchill is through into third, he's really pulling clear of this battle being led redoubtably, or was being led redoubtably, by Keith Padmore. He's now been demoted by Robert Beebe. And Beebe gets all sideways through Paddock Hill Bend as Dan Wheeler and Dave Mountain continue to run in tandem at the head of the pack. They're now going to have to start worrying maybe about the progress of Graham Churchill, because we have still got a long way to go in this race. We're not quite at half race distance yet. Maybe Churchill has just made his time, not used the brakes too much, not overheated his tyres. There he is. We'll have the opportunity to close in on this duo head of the pack. Further behind, the battles continue with some vigour. William Metcalf able to move clear of Russo. Russo then dives back to the inside of the British Racing green car at Graham Hill Bend. This is why these pre-66 Mini Anglo-French battles are becoming such a highlight of the Mini Festival, because it's a huge grid of cars and fantastic racing to be found throughout the pack. Dave Mountain now getting very, very familiar with the paint scheme of Dan Wheeler's car, because he spent most of the race sat behind him. Wheeler again covering the inside line up Halewood Hill into Druitt. He's going to make this as hard as he can for Dave Mountain as the pair of them accelerate down on towards Graham Hill Bend, the sole corner. Grand Section circuit's really changed substantially since these cars raced here in the 1960s. So Dan Wheeler accelerates away in the lead from Dave Mountain. Graham Churchill will take a short break. Join us in a couple of moments' time as the action continues.